What's up everyone, Jeremy Gerard with one of my short customizing tutorial videos. Today we're going to look at how to make a male frost elf for Mythic Legions. Now, we've already got a really cool female frost elf in the figure of Thallyn Frostbow, but we can use this figure as a base and really very few other parts and only a little bit of paint to create a male version of the Frost Elves to kind of build out our Frost Elf armies, okay? So we're gonna do that in this lesson. It's a great first or early customizing project for you because like I just said, it doesn't use a lot of parts, it doesn't use a lot of paints, but the payoff at the end is pretty darn cool, I think. So step number one, let's look at the figures that we're going to actually use as part of this build. So these are the two figures we're going to use. Again, we have the Thallyn Frostbow figure, wonderful photography on that figure here, courtesy of Trevor Williams, 1/6 shooter. Both of these photos are taken from the sourcehorseman.com website. But the Thallyn Frostbow figure is going to be the base figure we're going to use, and it's going to provide most of the parts that we need. Really, all we're going to have to change is the head and the torso. The head we're going to use, you'll see in a few moments, that's actually the alternate head that comes with Thallyn. And the torso, we're going to use the other figure that you see pictured here. That is the Steel Knight Legion builder. So that is a figure that we're going to use still readily available. We're going to pop that apart. We're going to use that torso on the Thallyn figure. We're going to repaint it, of course, to create the male elf, the male frost elf character that we're going for here. All right. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get that steel elf figure. You're going to want to separate this figure apart so you just have the torso. Now, I tell people all the time, these figures, they're made to pop apart. They're made to be modular, should come apart pretty easily. But if you have any resistance, any trouble separating parts, don't force it. If you force it, that's how you break it. So if you have any resistance, use a little bit of hot air. Get a blow dryer. Hit the part that you're trying to separate with a blow dryer for 20-30 seconds. That will soften the plastic a little bit, make it a little more malleable, make it easier to separate. That being said, this particular figure is actually pretty easy to separate. Pop the arms off. I'm going to pop the head off, the neck, and then I'm just going to separate right at the waist by pulling that off, and that's going to leave me with just the torso. So this is the torso that I'm going to repaint. Now, let's talk about some paints. So we're going to use a couple different paints here, but they're all easy to use. So you can see in this photo, I've got 3 different paints. The 2 smaller bottles, those are Vallejo paints, and that's going to be the starter ones that we use. The one in the middle is kind of our base color, our main color. That's Vallejo 70.943, and it's called Gray Blue. Now, that color is actually really, really close to the base color of the Thallyn Frostbow torso, but not exact, so I can get a little bit closer. I like to also use a little dab of this other Vallejo. This is 70.905. That is blue-gray pale. Those 2 colors together, mostly the gray blue and then a little dab of the blue-gray pale, I find gives me a really good color, like really good color match to Thallyn Frostbow. Once again, when you're doing this, you have this on the side of you, have this figure, because this is what you're trying to match. So use this as your guide. You're going to notice that it's not a flat color, that it's got a little bit of a sheen. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to paint it with that flat color. You can see here, this is the torso that I have painted. This is the silver that it started at. This is the color that I got it to. And once again, I do that with a mix of those 2 colors I just showed. I'm going to want to put these colors on fairly lightly, even though I want full coverage. I don't want to blow out any of the details. So if you look at this piece, there's a lot of sculptural details that are very nice. There's all the buckles on the sides of the torso. There's all the designs that are on the front of the torso. We don't want to glob the paint on to try to save time, because then that paint's going to pool up and dry in some of those crevices. So usually when I talk about dry brushing, I'm talking about it because I don't want full coverage. I just want a little bit of paint. In this particular case, I'm not going to dry brush fully because I do want full coverage, but I am going to make sure that the brush is not just sopping with paint. It's going to be a little bit drier so I can layer on the different paint colors and get that nice even coverage. Once I've got this with that nice even coverage, the next part is going to be to add that slight metallic sheen. And to do that, we're going to use the paint color that you saw in that photo, the one I just showed. Here it is again. So the paint that you see there, the larger paint, that is a Craftsmart paint. The color is bright silver. So Craftsmart, this is a brand that you get at craft stores. I buy these at Michael's. They're a cheaper kind of paint, but I really love these paints, especially the metallics. I really love them when it comes to dry brushing. I use them all the time in my customs, and I'm going to use it here as well. What we're going to do with that paint color is we are going to take that in the paint tray. We're going to dip our paintbrush in it, and then we're going to very much dry that off on a paper towel. If you check back some of my previous videos, you can certainly see some previous videos where I talk about dry brushing and I demonstrate it if you have any questions on that. But if you look at the Thallyn figure, that's what you're trying to match here. You just want a little bit of that metallic sheen to break up so it's not just a flat color. It's actually very, very easy to do. Once you've got it done and it's totally dry, the next thing you might want to do, you could totally leave it as is. That's the easiest thing you can do. You can leave it as is. If you want to take it a step further, again, look at the details of this armor. Look at the details of Thallyn. If you look at the rest of her body, where you have that armor, all of the buckles are painted with kind of like a light brown. Go ahead and do that. If you want to add the light brown to the buckles here, that is a way that you can kind of kick this up a notch and add a little bit more detail. You certainly don't have to. If this is one of your early projects and you're not comfortable doing some of those more detail-oriented type paint applications, leave it as is. This is very, very simple. What you'll do at this point, seal this. Once you're ready to use it, seal it up. I like to use Tester's matte type of lacquer seal. Again, there's a previous video I have all about paint FAQs where I talk about the sealer I use, but that is what it is. It's Tester's model, and it's a matte finish lacquer that will protect the paint from, rub and chipping. These are custom painted items. You do have to be careful with them, but by sealing them, it will at least give it a little bit of extra durability. So once it's all set with the Thallyn, I'm going to separate this figure apart. I'm going to pop all of the arms and the legs onto the new torso. And ultimately, what we're looking to do is create a male frost elf that looks something like this. So this is the goal that I'm trying to create here, which you saw in the intro for this particular video. This one is an early one that I did here. There are a couple other changes. I actually replaced, in this particular example, I replaced the loincloth from Thallyn with another armored loincloth from my fodder bin, and I used the exact same process to paint it. I started with that base color, just like I did for the torso, started with that base color of the gray-blue mix, put on that little bit of silver dry brushing to match it here. You will also see a belt, some belt pouches on this figure. Those are actually not Mythic Legions. Those are from a Marvel Legends Malekith figure. Interestingly, I had that in my fodder bin as well, and the color of that leather or what have you actually matches the strap that came with Thallyn Frostbow almost exactly. The strap is what you can see around the figure's torso, so I actually used that here to match them together. I also gave it a little bit of a soft goods cape, and you can see the head on this figure is actually the alternate head that came with Thallyn Frostbow. Now, this is a great head. It's been used on a number of elf figures and vampire figures, the Shadow Elves, the Elf Legion Builder, the Vampire Legion Builder. It's actually been used both as a male and a female, and it's not so distinct that it has to be either one. So I think it works really, really well here as a male frost elf. Now, this is the male frost elf that I have in my collection. It's really, really similar. The only thing that's different about this one is I actually did a little something different with the torso on this one. Instead of just using this normal torso, I actually replaced the top part with more of the angular type armor that you find on like the goblins. I just happen to like it for this look here, but you can see this has got that strap, this has got the head, the pauldrons, and just this blue soft goods cape. This is something I just went to a craft store, found some blue craft that had some blue fabric that had a feel that I liked, and I just cut it to the size I wanted, put a couple holes in it to fit it under the pauldrons, kind of like the actual Mythic Legion's capes work. Really, really simple to do. And it's using a lot of the Thallyn parts, even the weapons here, the sword, the bow that the character has, the quiver on the character's back, the strap that's around the chest, those are all parts from Thallyn Frostbow. So you really do use most of the Thallyn Frostbow parts to create this custom. But once again, I think the end result that you get is well worth the minimal amount of effort that it's going to take you to achieve that. Let's look at that one more time. Once again, this is what you are trying to create. Very simple custom. I think this is a great place to start, or even if you're a seasoned customizer and you're looking to add to your Frost Elf ranks, hopefully this video will help you do that. So if you enjoyed this video, I appreciate it. Let me know in the comments, give the video a like, certainly subscribe to the page if you're not already subscribed, so you'll be notified when videos like this go live. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see what you